Hello and welcome to this video on Rewind. I pressed the wrong button in my previous recording. That's why I'm smiling. And yes, today we're going to be discussing a couple of things. I wanted to talk about AI psychosis. I wanted to talk about the RAM shortage which is going on today and what you can do in terms of that as well. We'll go into a little bit of detail on the stocks in terms of the business side of things. And I'm going to be talking about some other stuff which I've forgotten. But never mind. I'll get onto it. Don't worry. So let's go on to the juicy bit today on Rewind. And if you're coming back from Multi-Tech Spec, welcome. Thank you for coming back. Or if you're seeing this for the first time, hello. Right. So the RAM. Ah, yes, the RAM. The RAM. How can we forget about the RAM? Why not the goats and the cows and the sheep while we're at it as well? Right. What's happening with the RAM? So, some time ago, right, and you can check this out on Yongye, OpenAI did a thing. What did they do? They approached SK Hynix and Micron in order to take out 40% of the global RAM supply. And you can find this on sources like Yongye. This has become a bit of a problem. Why? Because PC builders everywhere are experiencing things like, 40% increases in RAM prices, roughly. And we're seeing things like, 30. I was searching the web on eBay for 64 gigs of RAM, costing me about $1,000. And I have RAM. Get him. Right. So I have RAM. And that's kind of like, okay. Thank you. And yes, this to me was quite interesting because what does that mean? It means that when I think about it in a stock perspective, it means that these companies which are holding RAM are going to be in a place where demand is greater than the supply. So what does that mean for the stock price? Vertical, baby. Vertical. So maybe this is a good time to start investing in things like Micron, investing in things like SK Hynix, if you can get SK Hynix. I think they're privately traded, so I don't think you'll get them, but Micron is definitely on the stock exchange, by the way. This is not a financial advice. I've got to be clear on that, but that's a suggestion that maybe we should start looking into this. So that's the RAM problem, right? And we're seeing that with PlayStation as well. Yongye just turned around and said, well, okay, the next PlayStation prices are going to be $694 for the base model, going on to $900 for your Pro. In the UK, that's about £519, I think the price is going to be. But yeah, check out Yongye. He's got more of a price breakdown there. And it's interesting, right? Because I look at it from the industry perspective, and right now CS graduates are crashing out in droves, right? We're seeing, by the way, this is via Coding Jesus. Coding Jesus is an amazing channel if you want to learn coding. I highly recommend Coding Jesus. He is a great guy. Knows fundamentals like the back of his hand. And yeah, basically, we're seeing layoffs increase. I've even read an article today in the UK. Layoffs are going to be increasing more. And it's very disheartening. Like being in the industry for 7 years now and trying to get a job since 2024, it's 2026 now. I'm over a year out, right? And I'm still, bashing away at this sort of stuff, trying to make a high income skills, all that kind of thing. And even I'm thinking that maybe there's no future in CS anymore, right? I don't think I just don't see it. I don't see how we can be so squeezed, right? In terms of learning to code, in terms of getting a degree, in terms of getting the job, in terms of getting everything. And then, we're back to people in incompetence and power. I just don't know, man. I'm going to be honest. I just don't know. Right? And then you have ATS and then you have AI. And then the AI turns around and tells me things like, oh, you'd be great at doing customer service. What? You'll be a top applicant. What? Right? I'm just sitting there thinking to myself, like, what is this? You know, how can we be at a stage now where you have to send out 1,000 applications to get one CV? And I was watching Mark Tilbury just today, right, looking at the entrepreneur path. And one thing stood out to me, which was the new playbook. And he talks about basically saying, you know, you consume content that you're interested in, and then you do an application on it. Basically, what it means is that, you know, you look at something that you really, really enjoy. It could be coding, it could be AI, it could be whatever, right? Business, whatever it is, health, right? And basically you said, well, you apply it, right? And then you go incrementally to get better and better and better at the content until you get a diminishing return, right? On learning the content. I thought that was quite an interesting idea. So I thought to myself, oh, okay, like I've got a couple of things in health. I put some stuff on my other channels if you want to see that. Check out the Worldwide Mental Health Project, which is, you know, where I discuss things like health in a bit more detail than what I do here. Like here, I just discuss things related to AI and health, but over there, I do general, you know, because I'm a PT as well, and you can have a look at that if you wish. And then moving on from health, right, to another topic, we'll call AI psychosis. AI psychosis, I think, is really interesting at this point in time. Because psychologically, right, if we're using AI, one of the things that has been very interesting, to me at least, is I was creating a website for a product that I'm going to share at the end of this video. And what I found was that I was using Terraform with my GitHub Actions and essentially trying to get the code from places like Lovable and basically say, right, okay, I need to self-host this because it's cheaper for me to do and it's more secure. Okay. And as I was doing it with some recycled code, I found a very peculiar error. Now, I found that within the code, I was getting 526 errors. Now, 526 basically means that you have an invalid SSL certificate on the origin server. That to me was very interesting. I said, well, how can this be? I'm getting a, you know, how am I getting a 526? Like, I'm just copying and pasting this code. Like, how? Like, and I made my adjustments. Like, I thought I had my variables set. Like, how can I be getting an error? It doesn't make any sense. Luckily, I remembered a couple of fundamental steps, right? And as I did a bit of debugging, I came down to a bit of a realization. Even though AI had created the, you know, templates that I needed to get everything up and running, and it looked pretty good, right? It was running pretty much as I wanted to. I came across something which was very peculiar. He had taken my old recycled conversations, came to a correct assumption of what I wanted, which was great, but negated one thing that I had told it. And what this was it basically said the variables, I thought I was setting the variables correctly. I checked my variables, it was all correct. And there was one that eluded me. And it was very interesting. I looked at it and I was like, this makes no sense. Like, how is it possible I'm getting a 526? Like, I've done this thousands of times. How is it possible? And as I'm doing the debugging, a very rookie error came up. A very, very rookie error. Something that I should have caught very, very quickly. And what was this? 3, right? Take your guess and put it in the comments. But in 3, 2, 1, drum roll, please. DNS. Ah, man, DNS. The DNS server IP. DNS server IP was wrong. So I checked it in my code and I found out, well, actually it's going to a different server, and hence, even though it's serving web content, it was giving me problems. Now, if I had not used AI, I probably would have found this out in about an hour. But because I used AI and I recycled the Terraform module, big mistake, don't do that, I found out that in my infinite wisdom, that was wrong. right? So what I noticed was that from a health perspective, this is a bit more on the AI psychosis side because I'm relying on AI to do something which is probably something I should have done myself. Right, for just an hour of perusing through the code. Now, to my credit, I did actually peruse around the code. I just missed that particular var file as a default. Because what I had assumed was that AI was intelligent enough to put my variables into the GitHub Actions file, the workloads file, and then bring it in as a TF-var into my module. That's what I was hoping it would do because I'd set the values for the SSH into the VPS. So I was like, oh, okay, well, that makes sense. That's supposed to happen. Why did it not do that? Oh, because you already have a variable assigned in your Terraform files. Really? Really? So yeah, no, sorry, it's my. Oh, days were so much better without AI. It's egg on my face. Anyway, so so basically, yeah, so that was really annoying, right? That really just put egg on my face and basically was just like, yeah, I should just change the DNS value, right? So yeah, just be careful when using AI. Like these sort of things can really trip you up, right? And Coding Jesus makes some really good points on this sort of thing. Like maybe we should just not use AI for some mundane tasks. And it got me thinking, like maybe I need to make some safeguards for this sort of thing, so that way I can get quicker at the code. Don't get me wrong, like AI does do some interesting stuff, but this was just not one of those times where I was just like, no, like I spent too long trying to figure this out, and that was just not on. Like that was just such a schoolboy error that I got really annoyed with it. So yeah. So I thought to myself, okay, well, like these sort of problems happen quite a bit. So going back to kind of my solution to this whole problem was like, well, okay, I have 7 years worth of experience in DevOps. I have a little bit in AI because I've learned a little bit about it. So I thought, well, why don't I combine the two experiences, right? I know a little bit about AI. I know a little bit about DevOps. You know, I can get on with that, right? And it kind of came out pretty interesting. And it led me on to do things like the Worldwide Mental Health Project, which is another channel that I have. But on top of that, I thought to myself, well, okay, I'll create something called Agentica. What is Agentica? Now, Agentica is the product that I talked about kind of in the beginning of this video. And basically what it is this, I call it the AI orchestration system. Okay? So what does that mean? So before I go into a little bit more detail, let's go back to my previous example for those of you who are not technical, because I realized I haven't covered the non-technical part yet. So what I discovered basically is like having a map to go from one place to another, and then like getting lost along the way because of a direction change, and we are following like, you know, the North Star, only to figure out that we're going south. We're going to a different place altogether. So I had to change that direction in order to get to where I wanted to go, which was, you know, the server in question, right? And then I made my own assumptions as to where I was going, which were basically my variables. And once those were correct, then I got to where I needed to go. Okay? That's basically what happened. So going back to Agentica, right? The AI orchestration system is basically saying, right, we take the parts of the vibe coding community, right? All that good stuff around, you know, the cell and all that kind of stuff, lovable, all those kind of good stuff. And you basically say, right, okay, when we create an application, what happens? Well, we get bugs, we get, you know, security issues, we don't have any monitoring, we can't see what's going on with the system. Some people use like I spoke to a guy who was an electrician and used Docker containers. So I was like, huh, like an electrician knows Docker containers? He's doing vibe coding for applications from medical fields and he's doing Docker containers? I'm like, okay, we got to get serious here, right? Why? Because it goes into things like regulated environments, like HIPAA, GDPR, you know, and if you've got a problem with, you know, the Docker container itself because it's got a vulnerability, a CVE like 9 or 10, which you haven't found, and you're hosting that, right? And then somebody like me comes along and then finds out you've got a CVE 9 and 10, right? That application is as good as useless. Why? Because I can hack that application now. Yeah, I'm not saying that, you don't have security around your hosts and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, you probably do, right? But the point is that we need to make this aware to the vibe coding community. Like, if this is going to be the future, like people keep saying it is, right? Then the problem is that we've got to have a structure which says, right, okay, look, like these are the sort of things which are happening inside of your container. These are some of the security vulnerabilities, the linting that you need to have a look at. These are the sort of things that you should be thinking about, right? Because if we don't, then we're creating tools which are just like not valuable. Like, how do I put this? They are valuable, but they're more sloppy than they need to be, right? It's more like an AI slop fest. Whereas the value will come by having an orchestration system, which basically says, right, okay, yeah, okay, maybe you've got your own system for doing the research for like your leads and all that kind of stuff, which is great. But it's going to come from things like, managing secrets, right? Having your runners, right? Having secured runners, right? Like with this system, right, I'm going to be looking at integrating my runners, so my bespoke runners, into the system. So if you need to use them for, any sort of CI/CD process, you can do. It's not a problem. You can use it for things like secrets management. Why? But why didn't you use HashiCorp? But why didn't you use Secrets Manager? Think about it this way. Vault is complicated. It's an enterprise level program. Not a lot of people are going to know how to use Vault, and I don't have the time or the patience to go and set a certificate for it. I'd rather write my own, to be honest with you. And here's another thing with secrets management. How do I put this? Why would I pay to have them in the cloud so that way it can go and fail it? It can fail at any point, right? This system you can self-host. You can self-host it. I'll give you I'm working on creating the VCSA, right? I'll create this the vCenter appliance for you, or you can plug it into Proxmox wherever you want, right? I don't actually care after that point, right? But basically, you can use this appliance at an enterprise level and basically say, right, okay, here's my appliance, right? I'll plug it in. You plug in whatever you want, Claude primarily because it's built around Claude. And then you can say, right, okay, well, I have all this, tools that I can use to not only build my application, but I now know, okay, that it's going to have a bit more security, right? Because security is not 100%, by the way. I can't guarantee 100% security, right? Anybody who says they can is lying, right? And then you also get the tools that you need to build your application, and you get the monitoring as well, right? And this is stuff that you would pay a lot of money to people for. So I thought to myself, well, okay, well, why not just build it as a package? And then if people want to use it, they can use it. If not, that's fine as well, right? But your feedback is basically what helps here. And that's why I'm going to give 500, I'm going to give you credits. I'm going to give you some starting material as well to help you along your journey. So that way you can get accustomed to Agentica and therefore, start off on your journey as well. So there's a free tier. We're going to have a medium tier, and then you're going to have the enterprise tier, right? So you've got your vibe coding tier, which is a little bit kind of in the middle. Then you have your enterprise level tier, which is going to be more for the companies which, need that high level help, basically. So yeah, and then on top of that, if you're interested, I'm going to be hosting a video. I think I'm going to put it on LinkedIn. I might put it here, actually. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I'll put it on this channel or not. Or maybe on Multitech Spec. I don't quite know yet. I'll just see what the demand is. And if, let me know what your stories around, security and monitoring, or whether or not an orchestration system makes sense in the age of AI. Because I don't actually know. I'm just kind of, utilizing my years of experience to kind of say, right, okay, well, I think this makes sense, right? Because I know a lot of people are struggling to get up to date with AI and build something which is of value, utilizing the tokens, for example. We've got some token efficiency gains inside of Agentica, which may be of use to a lot of people out there. I don't know, because I know, for example, for me, tokens have been an issue. So this is the sort of thing that I'm looking at to build at the moment. And if this is kind of resonates with you, then I'd love to know your story. I'd love to know those sort of things that you could use Agentica for to build. I would even love to know, for example, what we can do to help you, right? What other things can we do at Agentica to help you, right? Because we want to build something that's great, that works with you. So, yeah, let us know your thoughts. So anyway, I hope that you've enjoyed this episode of Rewind. I know it's been a bit lengthy. You can skip the advert part if you want to as well. You know, I know, for example, it's at the end, closing remarks type thing, so fair enough. And yeah, I hope to see you in the next one. I hope it's been entertaining, and good night, good morning, and good evening, depending on where you are. All right, I'll see you next one.